Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Marianne from Revealing Light, Tarot, Astrology, and Spirituality. And thank you for joining me. And a huge shout out to you. I think I said that a little bit differently, but there you go. It is time. It is a time of change, isn't it? Um, I want to read on the solar flares that occurred over the weekend and are occurring right now. In fact, I've lost count of the many beautiful photos that people are posting from all across the world, where they're able to see the northern lights if they're in the northern hemisphere, or in my case, in the southern hemisphere, the southern lights. And I posted a most beautiful photo on the on my Facebook page of the southern aureolus, which was seen in Tasmania. We've had sightings in South Australia and far northern Queensland. Down in Tasmania, it's a very rare phenomenon. And so I want to talk about the solar flares, or coronal CMEs as they're known. And they have been accelerating and unprecedented in modern times. In fact, and then I want to look at the astrology, and then I want to dig down in the tarot. So that's what we're going to do today. The last time we had these massive solar flares was in 1859. And the astrology was pretty similar as well. As I understand it, Neptune was squaring the galactic center as it is at this time as well. So in 1859, there were extreme solar storms, and it was known as the 1859 Carrington event. And that took out telegraph communications. And yeah, the sunspots on the sun, the solar disk, grew. And among them was Richard Carrington. I'm quoting from space.com. He was an amateur sky rider in a small town called Red Hill near London. And he was sketching the sunspots, and he was blinded by a sudden flash of light. And I want to get to light in a minute. And he described it as a white light flare, the whole event lasting about 5 minutes. The flare was a major coronal mass ejection, CME, and this is what we are experiencing at the moment. Now, there was a huge CME event on Friday, depending on where you are in the world. And today, and over the weekend, it continued. And then today we have what is known in astrology as a cazimi. And that's why I want to look at the astrology to just unpick a little bit what is going on in the sky, what's happening in our universe. Of course, the sun is at the center of everything. Um, I believe, I believe something is indeed happening at a karmic level and at a spiritual level, and consequently at a physical level as well. I want to just point out that the light today here where I am is subtly different. Um, it's an overcast day, but there is just something ah about what is occurring at this time that's certainly impacting on me physically and if I can say spiritually, but it's something that's difficult to put into words. It's a feeling thing, and you will get to see in the astrology some of what I'm trying to express. On the Friday night, I actually had a really good sleep, and I woke up feeling changed, different. Last night, I struggled, and over the weekend, struggled to get sleep. And apparently, this is all part, according to some astrologers, this is part of the what we're seeing with these mass CMEs occurring. And for on that, you might want to go and see Pam Gregory on YouTube. She's a UK astrologer, and this is somewhat of an interest area for her, and she talks very much in depth about the physical and spiritual effects of CMEs, the CMEs that we are experiencing at the moment. She says this will go on during 2024. Now, I don't think there's any coincidence that what we're seeing here on this earth, because all of this is taking place in Taurus, the sign of Taurus, and of course, Taurus is our earthly energy. It's a fixed sign, and it is the sign where if there's any hard lifting to be done, you can find it done spiritually in any other way. You can find it being done in Taurus, and we've had this Uranus Jupiter conjunction, or certainly Uranus in Taurus for the last few years, actually, the last couple of years, and it's been a tough cycle, I believe. But Uranus is a big change bringer. It is the sign that is associated with Aquarius, and of course, and we have Pluto in Aquarius now, station retrograde. This is a hugely karmic time, and we only need to look at what is happening across the world at this time in humanity. What are the cycles that we are going through at this time? And one of them, of course, I talk about this on my podcast, Random Sage. If you haven't listened to that yet, you might want to go and visit there. But I talk about mass buildup of military personnel, mass arms exporting, and countries gearing up to not only protect their own territory, but actually to take other territory. And we've had a proxy war going on in Ukraine. Latest news from there is Russia is advancing, trying to take Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv. They've taken, I think it's about 5 kilometers of ground off Ukraine, and are still continuing that march. And of course, we are beyond grief at this point as to what is happening in the Middle East. And even just the bombings, the mass amount of bombings that are being done, the mass amount of deaths, this all has an impact on the atmosphere, on the earth, and also spiritually as well. And it's certainly taking an impact on everyone I know. All of my viewers are beyond grief at this time as to what is going on, and feeling like they can do nothing else but voice their support. And that is a very important thing, which is what you'll see when we get to this chart, that we do speak up and that we do have our voices heard. Okay, let's take a look at the actual chart for the 13th of May, which is today in Australia. Where if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you're moving into this 13th of May. And straight away, what we see here is the Sun and Uranus are exact. Why does this even matter to solar flares? Well, the Sun being the Sun, the center of our universe, the center of our zodiac, it is the I am in a very, 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 it's the essential, it's the essence, it's everything that we are. And Uranus here, Uranus is volatile, as I keep saying, volatile energy, the sign associated with Aquarius, happening in Aquarius, the water bearer, the water, the emotions and wisdom being taken from there, transported through the air and given as a gift to our humanity. Uranus can present these lightning quick, unexpected changes. Now, it is exact with the Sun. So we are in, I think, I believe, in a period of karma, yes, learning and advancement, even though it seems like I posed the question, are we ascending or descending? I believe that the choice is up to each of us individually. And for those that think, I can't do anything about what I'm seeing, I just want peace, not war. We want to preserve our way of life. We want to ensure that people have what they need, and our world is stable, our earth is cared for. They are not so far-fetched ideals, are they? They are very sane, logical, and common sense ideals for the sustenance and the evolution of humanity. At a time, as I said, when there's a huge military and arms build-up across the world, and we've got these major armies taking action against populations that are civilians, even that aren't, the balance of power is so skewed in these areas where we're seeing these conflicts, major conflicts, unfolding. So the Cazimi, what can we expect? Well, we've got Venus here also in conjunction, and we have Algol, of course, the demon fixed star, sandwiched between Jupiter also in Taurus. So the Taurian energy, Taurus is ruled by Venus, so it is one of the personal planets. Venus, I think, in this chart is extremely important. Venus is our love, our relationships, it's our desires, it's also our values and our self-worth. And so I believe that this is where this physical aspect comes from. So we've got potent sky astrological energies impacting on our earth, on our bodies, and on our values, with Venus in the mix here, conjunct with Uranus and Sun. What are these solar flares or these CMEs actually doing, giving us? What is the gift or the lesson or the change? Many are saying that there are new light codes being delivered through these solar flares, that there is a potential for greater evolution. But a lot of you are more pragmatic than that. And so I'm going to be asking the questions and digging down in the tarot shortly. However, I do want to say that there are a number of T-squares in this chart. The T-squares are the red lines, these red triangles. There's one here and there's another here. And of course, we have this first T-square. I like to use the asteroids in my charts. I think they're very undersold asteroids. Some astrologers don't even bother with them. But we have Hygeia here in Aries. Of course, what has been going on as we've been through this Piscean Aries cycle over the last couple of months is trying to find, at this time of perilous change in many ways, trying to find a new energy, a new identity. So there's great, I think we can all agree, pragmatic or otherwise, that there is huge big new cycles beginning and huge old cycles, old energies playing out in order to get to the new. And this is what happens with evolution. This is what happens in our human history, is that we evolve through painful lessons and through something else, through this Uranus type energy, because Uranus is communication in all its spectrums, but it's also the mind, the way that we think, lightning thought. And so this is where I think those who are saying there are new additional light codes coming in, potential for evolution. It's like we are all arriving at the same at the same answer at the same time. I think that is what that's part of what is occurring here. So hygeia, health, ill health, what's wrong, what needs to be fixed, what are we ailing from? And there is a square to Vesta, goddess Vesta, home and hearth. And I think the archetype of Vesta is very close to the high priestess. The high priestess. Now, Vesta's in Cancer, our feelings, because when we get these high thoughts, again, Aquarian energy as well. We've got Pluto in the mix here as well. I'll get to Pluto in Aquarius, but it is around these higher chakra centers. We have the heart chakra, the green. We have the throat chakra, the blue. We have the third eye chakra, the purple, and of course we have the crown chakra. We have the violet. So we have, if you look at the light that's being delivered across the world, and I think a viewer on my Facebook page posted a chart. I'm very much posted a chart of the colors in the either the northern and the southern aureolus, and we get these rich colors, these greens, these blues, these violets, these crimsons, these purples, coming through in these in the lights that are shown or elevated or delivered to many areas that they're not normally seen in. We see this energy, and in order for our feelings to be to have this higher thought, we have to use these higher octave chakra or energy centers. And yeah, there's a perception that Uranus is bringing us, and Venus there in the mix. Some of this, well, I'd say a lot of this, the core of this is around love, and really exposing what our values are. And there's a lot of discourse in going on in the world today about the many wars and conflicts, and many are not taking sides. They are just simply asking for peace and saying we are better than this. We are much better than this. And so there becomes a higher intention for peace and stability and evolution. The other point of this T-square is the South Node in Libra. The South Node, of course, is what we've got to let go of. It's the learning from the past in order to get to the future. And of course, the North Node is in Aries, this new identity. The other T-square here is between our old friend Eris, the warrior goddess, princess, goddess, queen, who came onto the battlefield, very volatile, warlike energy, came onto the battlefield and really slay those mainly men, I'm afraid. And she is very fierce in battle. And of course, we see these conflicts and wars accelerating. She's in Aries, and this square is to the moon in Cancer, the volatility, the feminine, and we have the other opposition, because that's what happens in a T-square. We get two squares and an opposition is to Pluto in Aquarius, of course. So we can see here, that there is let's just get out of here for a minute. Also, just want to briefly, before I go, Fortuna, the lot of fortune is down here in Libra with the South Node. So it is in our interest to learn from what is occurring and to make the changes, however difficult they seem, to make those changes while we've still got the chance. And I posed the same question today to as I posed on my Random Sage podcast, and that is, are we ascending or descending? So yes, it's involving our emotions. Yes, it's involving our higher self, our higher thought, and the pathway that we take to get there. And I think that with the solar flares, the increase in activity, the light that is coming through into our earthly plane that hasn't been in areas before is very, very significant. Color is something that many NDEs, near-death experience survive, well, people come back and talk about the colors that they see in the afterlife. And so there is a transmission going on here, I believe, at this time. And I think it's a very karmic time, painful time, a time of beyond grief, a time of confusion, a time of also I see procrastination while the leaders understand what is at stake here. And also it can be a time of descending as well. And I do believe that the choice is ours. But back to the solar flares, let's pull some cards and find out. I have here the Mystic Shaman Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. I have here the Elemental Oracle by Stacey DeMarco, and I have the Cosmic Tarot. So, in summary, the astrological picture is involving exactly the planets that you would expect. Sun Cazimi in the heart, Uranus is in the heart of the Sun Cazimi, very potent energy, and Venus here. And then we have Algol, the head of Medusa, the demon star, the strife and evilness, sandwiched between the Sun and Jupiter now. And so there is a pathway forward, and we are finding it. Absolutely, we're finding it. The Egypt is now joining with South Africa and asking for a complete withdrawal from Gaza, so hostages can come home and the killings can stop. They're asking the International Criminal Court for for global authority, world authority, to come together and end this death and destruction in the Middle East. And of course, I believe that the EU and NATO will have to put some additional pressure and support for Ukraine. We'll take a deep dive on Ukraine in a future reading, as we will with the Middle East. But for now, let's look at the solar flares. So many other situations are occurring in the world that is causing change. We have the UK royal family, their battles with cancer, and I'm just going to say modernity. And this is, we have what's going on in the US with the former president, and particularly what is occurring with women, and bills being brought forward to monitor pregnancies. This is it's becoming very dystopian in the US at this time. We have a move toward the far right in some parts of Europe, but at the same time in some of the Baltic enclaves around Russia. Georgia, 15% of their population, hundreds of thousands of people are protesting. They do not want to be associated with Russia. And so they're calling for democracy, same energy as in Ukraine. Those who've experienced the old Soviet Union are calling for freedom. So many calls for freedom. All right, let's have a look at what effect are solar flares having on us physically? Okay, physically. All right, let's go there, because I don't know about anybody else, but today I woke up feeling lighter in my body. Also having trouble sleeping. I know some of you are going to have similar kind of concerns, but just a deep, again, that priestess, Vesta energy, priestess energy, home and hearth, are feeling intuitively, you're feeling this change. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so how are the CME solar flares, the coronal mass ejections, how are they affecting us physically? How are they affecting us physically? We are becoming more conscious of our universe, is exactly what I'm seeing. There's a round window in an attic that we very rarely look out of, and beyond that is a window, a literally round mandala window to the stars. And so this is, again, activating our higher thinking. And that has, again, with Venus there, self-worth. What happens with our self-worth if we don't think that we're good enough, that we can, if we don't believe that we can find solutions that don't involve mass military build-up, war, death, destruction, global arms sales, if we don't think we have the ability to communicate and to find solutions through strong diplomacy, unity, and negotiation. If our first instinct is to war and not to negotiation, what is our self-worth like? Our self-worth can affect us, impact our physical bodies. Low self-esteem and self-worth is often behind many cancers and ill health, autoimmune disease. All right, fatigue, depression, anxiety, mental health problems. All right, so how are the solar flares affecting us physically? All right, so we have here the coyote. The coyote is cunning. The coyote is quick. And so in a way, this is all men and women for themselves. It is around trying to it's around self-interest. Okay, it's not what is good for the world, or even for my country, or even for my community. It's what's good for me. And if you look at all the situations around the world, you will see that common thread. And so we have to find a way through a collective identity that is more unified. And we have here the blade, the truth. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through the truth. And I guess that's the most challenging part of this time. And I do want to include that we have what is it, a full moon in Gemini. We have the sun moving to Gemini at the end of or in June. Let's just have a look here. We have a new moon in Gemini, so that Mercury energy, how we communicate, again, is connected very closely. Gemini is an air sign, very closely to that Aquarian energy as well. But Aquarius does something more. It considers the heart and the emotions and brings that, transmutes that through the air. And we have the sun moving into Gemini. Well, it is in Gemini now. And we have, sorry, it's not in Gemini now, it's in Taurus. The sun in Gemini, 20th of May, and Cancer, 21st of June. So the sun will enter Cancer, the place of feeling, on the 21st of June. and will enter Gemini on the 20th of May. Okay, so this air energy, how we communicate our thoughts, seems to be through these CMEs to me. There seems to be, I'm aware of the truth. And we have here water energy, again, healing the emotions, the healing of the emotions. And so when we can, the more that we can talk about our what what collective wounds we have, and the truth will bring us to some kind of I know that we think as human beings we aren't capable of change unless we talk about it in length, and then talks can go nowhere and they can take time. But think about this. If the sun is able to eject this mass energy, fire, I am, conceive for a minute that when our awareness changes and we do it together, how powerful that can be. We have here the mystical shaman. My next question was, how are we evolving spiritually? And I think somehow physically and spiritually, there is the connection with the sun. I've answered these questions. Just take a look at these cards, please. So we have the coyote, quickness, even in a way, cunningness, knowing where to go and what to do. It's the coyote's job to look at what's around the corner. There is well, cunningness is not the right word. Very adept. Instinct is what I want to say with the coyote. Coyotes can be quite spiritual animals as well. They can turn up and very close to the shaman energy as well. We have here, so that's 12, adding up to 3. A 1 is the identity, the you, the new beginning. 2 is the unity, and 3 is the communication. And so with Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to be seeing, or we are seeing, as it moves retrograde now back into Capricorn, how communication has been can I just say, what we've been given, what we've been fed, I'm going to be a bit radical here, it can in some ways be a bunch of crock. It's like years ago, I'm just going to go off on a tangent. Years ago, when we went through the existentials, the existential stage, maybe 50s, just after the Second World War, we weren't feeling like we were empowered to make that change. And then the 60s came along and there was this great push toward freedom. We had the 90s, where 80s and 90s, greed was good. And then we moved into a new century. And I think we've been recovering our stride ever since. And we've been seeing with that Pluto in Capricorn moving into Aquarius, the end of an end of an age, an end of an era. And I think this awareness, this mass awareness that we're experiencing, where I don't even have to say, I know exactly what you're saying. I feel that. It just comes instantaneously. I do feel, to borrow a phrase that people will say is cliched, I do feel this is a time of ascension for many of us. And it is coming because the truth, and I said this when Pluto moved into Aquarius, we will see so much corruption. We will see so much truth. It's en masse, it's in the collective. And I do believe that is what is happening. And our emotions, our heart chakra joining with our higher octave chakras, is delivering a change in the way that we feel things, and changing our self-worth, perhaps, so that in time, we can make the change to not having to build up armies and warheads and not having to do that, and to taking another pathway forward, perhaps where if we look at the founding of all our major unified organizations, which themselves have grown powerless in the rise of, in this Capricornian age, Pluto in Capricorn, that we go back to some of these foundational ways to keep our world secure, stable, and hopefully healthier. We have the mystical shaman. It is a time, how do we do this? When we use our higher self, we are moving into our spiritual connection, our spiritual connection. And we have here the sun, what is happening, the I am in our natal charts, astrologically speaking. The sun is the center of everything. It is who we are. It is the I am. It's who I am, the sun. And we have the gatherer, 21, completely opposite to the 12 here. Again, unity, the identity still protected within the collective. And we have the gatherer. This, to me, speaks. I asked, were solar flares, CMEs affecting us physically? Yes, they are, because our spiritual bodies reflect our energetic bodies. And if we are ill energetically, then our bodies are going to reflect that. And if we take that even further, we have the earth being we're all part of the earth. And so our sickness can be felt in the earth. But the earth and the universe are far, far more powerful than we are. So let's have a look at, I'll use the tarot for this question. And I'm going to ask, is there a karmic aspect? So what is karma? Karma is, well, we perceive linear time, but it is a point in time, whether it's linear or whether it's multi-dimensional time. Karma is a point in time where we have the opportunity to learn, become aware, and evolve. And then we either create better karma or good karma, or we create more karma and experiences, often painful, from which we can learn. I don't believe all karma is bad. I think you can actually learn from good experiences as well. And I think that's also part of what's happening at this time. Tremendous amount of unity, compassion is there if we want to find it, for those that are suffering at this time. Tremendous amount of support and admiration and approval is there in many areas that have remained contentious. We've got greater courage to go out on a limb and support those that perhaps society may not yet be supporting or may have shunned and avoided, and we're brave enough to go out there and give voice to that support. Okay, is there a karmic aspect here? So there's a bravery, there's a courage, and letting go of the old ideas of punishment can bring great fortune into your life. Okay, so is there a karmic aspect to these solar flares? Is there a karmic aspect to these solar flares? Very much a generational thing coming here as well. And some of the ways that people have viewed the student protests is generational, unfortunately. Okay, so the Nine of Pentacles, having everything that we need, having perhaps more than what we need. The Nine of Pentacles, the nines, of course, is the ace is the seed, and we move through the minor arcana toward the 10th. We're always going for that 10 of Pentacles, but we have decisions here. So in order to preserve the Two of Swords, very much not knowing, which the twos are all about having to decide, having to make the concrete decision. And so we have here a decision about, as I said, sustaining the kind of world that we want to live in. And it is all up to us. And we have the another nine, a nine of swords. If we want the world to be sustained, if we want to be sustained, then of course we have to do something. We have to make a decision. The nine of swords, great deal of anxiety here. Again, the Two of Pentacles, I'm not surprised to see so many twos. What are we going to decide? The Nine of Pentacles, if we get to the 10 of Pentacles, of course, we need that extra pentacle. Which way are we going to decide? And of course, this is the foundation of karma. It's all around our decisions. The Three of Wands, I'm glad to see that in the sky crowning this reading, and her hands are going up to the sun, the Three of Wands. This is doing the hard work to get to where you want, to get to what you'll find, what you need, what you desire is on the horizon if you put in the work. We have the Princess of Swords, hearing and listening to the truth. And again, the princess is a young person. And it's not us, and the sun is coming out from the clouds. It's not us that will inherit this earth that we've made, this society we've crafted. It is the younger people. And what do we see across the world? As we saw in the 60s, what do we see across the world? Young people protesting for peace. For peace. They're not intellectualizing this. They're not taking a side. They're simply protesting for peace. We have the Prince of Wands in the here and now. Great movement, quick movement forward. The Prince of Swords is, well, with the Knight of Swords, very fast-moving knight in the tarot. And you can see the lion on the shield here. Movement forward is the strength. Leaving behind or overcoming painful karmic situations as a collective will bring us a great deal of strength. And we have in the environment around, notice the sun, we have here temperance and healing and moderation. The more at this time that we can stay away from sidism, extremism, the more we can find the center ground and allow radical acceptance to unfold and hold peace in our hearts. The more we can do that, the higher we can, the more we can move beyond this karma that I feel is happening at this time. The Six of Wands in the hopes and fears, victory. Again, there is the lion. This is passion and motivation. We're getting fire energy here. What does the sun emit? What are these solar flares? Fire energy, fire light. And fire cleanses and burns and cleanses. And we have here the Emperor, leadership and control. I asked, was this a karmic time? And the Queen of Pentacles, stability, bringing everything forward that we need. And the Seven of Wands, standing our ground and moving forward with, if you perceive the truth, stand with it, because then you become a leader. Then you advocate for this Queen of Pentacles energy. I see the Two of Cups, the unity coming at a time of great death. The Five of Cups is the minor arcana equivalent to the Death card, and can mean actual many passing over. Many are homeless, the Five of Pentacles. The fives are about change before we come to the sixes, which are about giving and receiving help. victory and moving on out of this energy, this trouble that we have, that we find ourselves in. And the Prince of Pentacles then delivers us consistency. So is this a karmic situation? Well, karma is both a metaphor for ascension or learning, evolution, I want to say, but also for the absence of the need for karma. All right, so what do we want to say? I know, I think one more question. Is there a higher purpose for this suffering? Because I know across the world, the suffering is unspeakable, unspeakable. What have we done? What have we done? What are we doing? Okay, is there a higher purpose for this suffering? Is there a higher purpose for this suffering? Okay, I'm seeing two sides being pushed away from one another, and there is empty space or not empty space in between. The galactic center, of course, is 2 degrees, I think, or is it 27 degrees of Sagittarius? Galactic center, it's like a potentiality. I'm not going to say it's a black hole of potentiality, but it is a time of potentiality. A lot is changing around our perception, or the way that we treat women, the perception, our self-worth as well. As a woman, I feel that strongly, and it's so sad to see what is happening in the US. Is there a higher purpose? The women and children of Gaza, women and children in Ukraine, women fighting in Ukrainian army, the unbearable suffering of children in Gaza, the hostages who are still suffering after 7 months of death and destruction, the hostage families who are beyond grief as well, and are now protesting en masse in Israel and being herded up by police in Israel. The suffering is immense. What is, please, what is the purpose of this suffering? So we get the Five of Swords, and to really see where the abuse is coming from. Remember the blade, remember the Ace of Swords. Who is the abuser? Who is the abuser? And we get the Lovers card, relationships, Venus energy, self-worth. Who is sabotaging themselves? Again, this self-interest over the interests of many. We see that at the center of the major conflicts in the world, and the situations that are undergoing change will have somebody at the center that is putting their own interests above the interests of the many. We have the Three of Pentacles as at the foundation of the reading, rebuilding, coming together, unifying in all its glory, with all its expertise, with all our greatness, coming together to rebuild, coming together to reform, coming together to do things not as we did in the past, but to do things for the here and now in the interests of the many. And we get the heartbreak, death and loss. This is a funeral scene. Our swords through the heart, our feeling, transmuting pain into that higher thinking. And then when we're in that higher thinking, we can make sense of everything. And of course, here's our pentacle, the one that we've been looking for. It's crowning this reading. And the aces, the earth stability, all this is happening in the sign of Taurus, earth sign of Taurus, fixed energy. This is the seed. of something new. So that is the potential of this energy at this time, and the consistency, the Knight of Pentacles, the slow-moving knight, nevertheless moves with great stability and consistency. And look at what this knight has, a pentacle. The here and now, what is the purpose? The Prince of Swords, the truth emerging. And when truth emerges, awareness and change occurs. Take any situation in your life, and that will be the pattern. Denial, denial which brings pain, more pain and suffering. Truth and awareness and moving forward. And we have here the Four of Cups. I knew that card was coming. A great deal of disappointment, 3 cups lost, but there is 1 cup remaining. We have here the King of Swords, in the hopes and fears that we can actually pull this off, this evolution off. And the Princess of Pentacles, young people, children, the new earth. The earth doesn't belong to me. It belongs to my children and grandchildren. And how dare I, or any of us, stand in their way? And here's our 3 of Wands, the purpose of this pain and suffering. She's reaching up to the sun. And there's an inevitability here. 3 trumpets sounding, judgment, karma. This is evolution. This is evolution. What is the purpose of this death and destruction and suffering? This is change. This is evolution. This is new cycles. Get out of the way if you're standing in the way of a new earth. The Moon card. The Moon is in Cancer, our feelings, our volatility. The Magician can be manifestation, can also be manipulation. We have the 8 of Swords. Great deal of anxiety, going round and round in circles. Nothing seems to be happening because we're stuck in that loop. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles, moving toward greater stability. Okay, so that's the reading on the solar flares. How can you expect to experience them? Well, don't be surprised if you get a physical experience. Certainly you're going to get a spiritual experience, whether you know it now or whether you don't, whether you're conscious of it or unconscious. And the best thing each of us can do individually is to hold these higher intentions for change, for peace, and for unity, and be aware rather than reacting from the lower energy centers in your body. Be aware that when we use these higher chakras, when we move into connection with spirit, we are allowing good change to take place. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back again later on in the week with probably some political tarot. But for now, this is probably a spirit file. It's probably a deep dive, but it's also a video that you asked for on the solar flares. Bye for now.